with social media, like Jonathan Haidt talks about this, right? Specifically affects young women or girls. I think there's a lot of things have happened. Number one, obviously we've had economic issues. A lot of the blue collar middle class jobs are getting squeezed. That doesn't help that the Fed is printing money through quantitative easing and our buying power is decreasing. What's the point in making 3 times more money when the buying power is losing about, inflation 2% plus tax plus products increasing? On average, you're losing about 3.5 to 5% per year for purchasing power.
It would probably still be nice for a lot of people to still have their wages going up to match that at least, but I get what you're saying.
The Fed just needs to stop printing money and go back to gold reserve.
Yeah.
Our buying power needs to increase. Hence, buy Bitcoin. Our sponsor today is brought to you by Satoshi Nakamoto. Buy Bitcoin. So it's a multitude of factors. You have social media, which is causing mental crisis in young females, like crazy depression, suicide. They're affected more. Like you give boys, and Jonathan talks about this, highly recommend reading his book, The Coddling of the American Mind. You give boys internet, cell phone, whatever, video games, porn.
Right.
They're not that psychologically affected per se, right? Girls are the worst when it comes to social creatures. Girls, women, it's a hierarchical battle between females, right? First of all, it's what's it in it for me? Second of all, how do I look from the perception to my other females, right? So they're always compare. And they ridicule each other extremely. Boys, we have a different way of settling differences.
Right.
And it's done.
Right.
I probably won't talk. I've been in a million fights. I'll have a beer with you after. No, I've done it, man. Like we'll fucking fight it out like 2 deers, you know what I mean? And like, okay, we're good, right? We have a means of aggression. On the other hand, young girls, they're not physical per se, at least majority, let's say 99%. So their thing is more chronic. It's verbal abuse, group pressure abuse. So that's one thing starting at early age is social media. Like I think we're going to look back 10, 15 years and be like, this is like smoking cigarettes. It's a tool, and I'm not saying like so I have a car. Cars kill more people than guns. It's a fact. Human beings are horrible drivers, especially now everyone's like, oh, I can drive, no problem, bang. You know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
When I cross the road, I watch a million times these days. Like, drivers are fucking insane.
Yeah.
Like, crazy, man. I get hit like almost once a day when like, oh, oops, run a red. And so, like any tool, the tool's innate. It doesn't have like sentient intelligence, right?
Right.
So you have these social media platforms, whatever, you name it. And it's not like us saying, bye-bye, social media. I think it can be used for good, right? Like, look what we're doing right now. A lot of good can come out of it.
Right.
However, I think we have to start at a very young age of understanding there's a time and a place for things. There's a context for things. And I think the education needs to start from an early age of how to use these tools better. That's one aspect of society that needs to change. Second aspect of society that needs to change specifically relates to males, young males. Back in the day, you can even view right now with certain hunters and gatherers, even certain cultures, they still have a right of way, a passage, where there is a psychological trigger. Is a trigger of a boy turning into a man. It can be something so simple as a father passing his rifle, or a father spending time in a 2-day camping trip where they go through an extreme adventure or experience, and the father gives the son something. It can be even like whatever, a symbolic gift. In that moment, there's a psychological trigger. Females, they naturally, by nature, are given a psychological trigger. They menstruate.
Right.
We don't. Right? And so that's why you see a lot of young, angry men today. They're still boys in men's bodies. They've never had that psychological evolution to have responsibility. And it's a multitude of different factors, The father's not really in their life. Doesn't mean he's not there, but he's not part of the family. Number two, you have the fact of, and this Jonathan Haidt talks about this, is the advent of helicopter parents, right? We'll make everything easy for you. It's like, how does that benefit anybody anywhere? You want them to, it's like a puzzle, learn the skill, fail, You know, failing is going to be very normal in life, right? Get back up, learn, enjoy the process. Don't enjoy the incentive.
Everybody wins now, man.
It's fucked. It's so fucked. You get a prize. You get a prize. You get a prize. Give me a break. How's that training society to be better?
Right. It's not.
It's not.
No, it's not. So I guess unpacking it to a certain degree, the social media thing, I guess I want to disagree to a certain, I think it's rather just like, it just is. Social media is just a tool that's just there. It might amplify some of the things. Well, obviously it amplifies a ton of things, but the relationships, I don't know if that changes it for, I mean, I'm a father of a young girl, right? And I had sisters growing up. They used to just talk on the phone for hours and hours and hours and hours, and there'd still be fights and things going on. But this idea of it like bringing in depression, and depression is like a thing now that everybody's talking about, discussing it, which they rightly should be. Again, when I went to school, nobody fucking talked about depression ever. Like it wasn't a thing. You know what I mean? And there's an older generation, my generation, and then older even, that like, especially like my parents, like scoffing at these kids. Oh, everybody's depressed now and stuff. And it's like,
yeah, but do you think the fact that you didn't notice depression, maybe the fact that there is actually more depression?
Well, see, that's
like, I grew up with no social media. I was probably the last generation. I'm 85, so I'm 34, 35.
Right.
And so I didn't get like a smartphone until I was like 22, 20. Like I was past my
right.
you know, teenage years. I used to be a big fucking partier. Socializing 24 clubs 2-3 times a week, raves, you name it, like outdoors, no fucking cell phone. The cell phone I did was like what the fuck was it? Motorola? No, the Razor. Who had the Razor phone? What company was it? Was it Motorola? Nokia. No. You know the Razor, like the Matrix fucking Razor phone. Yeah. So that's a phone I had for a long time, and my original phone, like the Nokia brick snake, right? And I enjoyed being in the moment of those events. I was socializing. I wasn't being bombarded by, oh my God, look how beautiful that person is on Instagram. Oh my God, John's living his life. He's traveling around the world. Oh, and then I'm going to sulk in my tears over here because I'm not living your life. You know what I mean? You have all these psychological, social pressures building up in you, and this is happening subconsciously. Like, I was never exposed to that, ever. I wasn't aware of anybody else doing anything. I was just in the moment. My whole generation.
Well, you were aware of like celebrities and stars and things.
Yeah, but it wasn't 24/7. You didn't have access to 20. Right. The only way you can have access for that is like I go on the fucking internet or get a magazine. It wasn't, Instagram did not exist. Facebook did not exist. YouTube did not exist.
The internet in this way didn't exist.
It didn't really exist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, it was still like dial-up. I remember 256-bit or whatever it was. Like we weren't bombarded by all these social pressures, you know? The cognitive load that people are under today. And the science is coming out day by day. You know, like people are waking up viewing Instagrams like, got to view my phone right away in the morning. Is that healthy?
No, it's not healthy. But I think we tend to do a lot of things in our teens and 20s that aren't healthy.
Bro.
And so that's a whole different thing where this... Like,
I've done too much stuff.
I know, me too. Way too much. The stuff I was doing at 16, I mean, all I can say is I'm so glad people couldn't just take pictures and post it permanently online. All the time.
That's why I'm so happy I was like one of the last generations before all this shit.
You are one of the
shit
last.
that I fucking did. Man.
Yeah. Imagine if that was documented.
Oh, God.
Imagine if you were looking at my bio today and I don't even know if you should come on the show, man.
It's crazy.
Right. And so that's different, right? That's totally different. But I don't know. I like, so there's bad things to it, right? Again, it's gray. All of this is. But this idea that it's what created this sort of like depressed generation, I think is bullshit. I think we just weren't aware of it. And
we weren't aware of it. That's for sure.
Right. I mean, and it existed as a thing. But again, this goes back to me where I was like, we are wealthier. We're freer to do things. We travel like people didn't travel the way we travel. You know what I mean? Like it's just all the time. Like either like my daughter or her friends are just like, oh, we were in France, we were in Spain, we were in, like, and it's just so not a thing anymore. I mean, when I was in grade 9, it was like if somebody was ever going to like Winnipeg or Vancouver, it was like a big thing. Yeah, you know what I mean? Not just like, oh wow, that's where you went for the weekend. Yeah, of course, cool. That's different. That's really different, and it does give us this freedom. It allows us or enables us to I mean, not just contemplate things, because obviously when we're checking Instagram all the time, we're not contemplating, but it does, I think, as a society, give us more freedom to stop. And so for me to stop as a parent and actually give a shit about like how my daughter might be feeling or thinking, which not that my parents didn't care, of course they did, but they never stopped and asked. Like it just wasn't a thing. And nobody's like, oh, well, maybe you should go see a therapist.
But no one taught you that, did they? You just learned from your own experience. It's not like you went to a class like, John, well, this is how you're going to...
Right, but I'm saying that I think that is afforded to me because of the lifestyle that things around me have allowed me to live, right? The internet as it is, being able to run a podcast and like not have to work that much is not a thing that happened 20 years ago.
No, it's a luxury beyond a luxury.
Right.
It's like 0.0001% of the world.
Right. But I mean, to me, that like, so there's the grit and the loss of grit, and that's terrible. That's a thing that we do need to sort of analyze. But I do think that it's not all bad. I think that there's a lot of good things coming out of it. I think us, hopefully as like a human race, will come out better and will be more evolved in this process.
I think so. Like there's a Buddhist saying, it is as it should be. You know, like a passing cloud, it comes, it goes, right? You know, it's like the butterfly effect. You look back in hindsight and you realize, well, if that didn't happen, this wouldn't happen. So like dominoes.